This story begins with Sam Stone, a ruthless Beverly Hills fashion mogul, having lunch with his lover, Carol. He is a man full of strong feelings, more specifically, hatred and contempt for his wife, Barbara Stone. Sam plans to end his wife for everything she represents in his life. Sam hates everything about his wife, hates her dog, hates how she licks stamps, and several of her eccentricities, and admits to marrying her just for her family's fortune. He reveals to his lover Carol that 15 years earlier, he married Barbara just for her money, but her father, who was also Sam's boss, took a long time to die. Sam has thus accumulated a small fortune, but Barbara is the heiress to a much larger sum, more than $15 million. However, when Sam arrives home at his luxurious Bel Air residence, he finds the house empty. Furious at not being able to carry out his plan, he throws away the bottle of chloroform he intended to use to put Barbara to sleep before finishing her off. He then receives a call from an anonymous man announcing that Barbara has been kidnapped and that Sam must pay a large ransom of $500,000. Otherwise, Barbara will be put out. She will also be put out if he informs the police or the media. Sam deliberately does the opposite and warns the media, and the mansion is soon swarmed by reporters. Barbara first appears tied up and kicking in a burlap sack, being dragged away by her kidnappers, Ken and Sandy Kessler. Ken and Sandy are a lower-class couple who live in the poor part of San Francisco. Their target is actually Sam, because Sam built his business empire with money from the Kessler savings when he stole Sandy's fashion designs. We then discover what Barbara is like, a woman who talks and yells a lot, and I mean it. She is held captive in the Kessler's basement, but notices that they are nothing more than amateur kidnappers. She never stops yelling, swearing, or screaming at the Kesslers. Enraged, she screams that when her husband finds out that she was kidnapped, he will explode. Meanwhile, he opens a bottle of champagne completely happy. Sandy begins to feel guilty about her actions, but Ken reminds her of how she felt after finding out that Sam stole her idea. In the meantime, Barbara sees that her foot is chained to the foot of the bed. She tries to escape, but is caught by the Kesslers, who sedate her. However, now Barbara knows the Kesslers' faces. Things get out of hand when it becomes clear that Sam doesn't want his wife back and, in fact, is doing everything he can to provoke the kidnappers into finishing her. Unfortunately for him, the Kesslers, although desperate, are not willing to do away with anyone. The next day, when Sam doesn't show up for the ransom payment, Ken calls him and offers to reduce the ransom from $500,000 to $50,000, and then the next day, to $10,000. Sam still refuses. Barbara plays mind games with Sandy, talking about ways they will be punished for their crime, such as the gas chamber. Sandy becomes increasingly guilty and desperate because Sam doesn't pay the ransom quickly. Meanwhile, Sam has no idea who the kidnappers are, nor that his lover, Carol, has other intentions with him. Carol is a scammer who, together with Earl, the typical handsome and dumb guy, intends to steal all of Sam's fortune. Carol thinks Sam created the kidnapping story to distract the public and thinks Sam plans to dump his wife's body from the Hollywood Hills in the dead of night. So, Carol sends Earl with a video camera to film the scene and blackmail Sam. Earl, being the stupid dummy he is, ends up recording the encounter between a prostitute and her client, who asks her to make a lot of noise. Earl hears the woman's screams and thinks he is witnessing the murder. Without watching the video, Carol sends an anonymous copy to Sam, who sees the scene of the libidinous act of passion and immediately identifies that Carol can send it. He calls Carol and says that he is looking forward to repeating the scene with her. Terrified, she hides with Earl in his trailer and sends another anonymous copy to Police Chief Henry Benton, who happens to be the client on the video and therefore has a skeleton in the closet, and Benton thinks he is being blackmailed. The chief of police asks Carol what she wants, and she says her answer is the most obvious, to have Sam Stone arrested. The next day, Benton orders the police to search Sam's house, planning to plant evidence in it, but is surprised when real evidence emerges, including the bottle of chloroform and photos of Sam with Carol. The kidnapping investigation, led by detectives Bender and Walters, who are already following Ken, is immediately called off, just when they start to close in on the Kesslers. Sam is then arrested. Barbara, bored in confinement with only access to a TV, starts watching exercise programs on television. She becomes increasingly focused on these exercises, and at a time when Sandy brings her food, the kidnapper comments that Barbara has lost weight. She then asks for a weighing scale and discovers that she has lost about 20 pounds. At this moment, Barbara shows her more human side, and the emotion generates an unexpected connection with Sandy, who shares her fashion ideas and dress designs. At that moment, Barbara asks how much they are asking for the ransom and is shocked to discover that her value has been reduced as if she were an item on sale. Meanwhile, Ken repeatedly reduces the ransom price, but Sam refuses to pay and encourages Ken to finish off Barbara. Ken, unable to be a ruthless criminal, decides to flee to Mexico with Sandy, but discovers that, amid the euphoria of the moment, Sandy has freed Barbara. Sandy says that they can work together to develop and sell Sandy's fashion designs. Ken becomes increasingly desperate, but Barbara returns to the Kesslers' house after finding out from the newspaper about Sam's mistress. The icing on the cake is that a local serial killer, known as the Bedroom Killer, breaks into the Kessler home and confronts Barbara, leading to a confrontation in which he blacks out after falling down the stairs. Barbara, realizing that Sam wanted her out of his life and already aware of her husband's extramarital affair, joins forces with Ken and Sandy to blackmail him for his entire personal fortune, which is more than $2 million. After breaking out of prison, Sam reluctantly gathers the ransom in a briefcase, desperate to prove his innocence in Barbara's disappearance. Carol finally watches the video and realizes Earl's mistake, reconnecting with Sam to find out when the ransom delivery will occur. Earl ambushes Sam and Ken during the exchange, but they are surrounded by dozens of SWAT officers, and Earl is arrested. Ken warns the police that he will put Barbara down if they try to stop him and escapes with a police escort. Cornered, Ken drives the car to the end of the Santa Monica Pier and appears to drown. The police recover the body of the Bedroom Killer, disguised as Ken, from the car, but are unable to find the ransom money. Sam is elated, believing that Barbara must be dead, until she appears at the pier, says the killer was actually her kidnapper, and pushes Sam into the water. Meanwhile, Ken emerges from the ocean with diving equipment, carrying his briefcase, and celebrates with Sandy and Barbara. And that, my friends, is the end of this story.